What is going on, everyone? Badger here. Make sure to like and sub, and let's get into this. So we, for the past couple weeks, have been covering all these stories from Film Threat. That this really is it. This is it. If you were wondering why all of the shows went to shit, all the source material was disrespected, everything was changed, all the characters were race swapped and gender swapped and sexuality swapped, why Wheel of Time is the way it is, why Witcher was the way it was, this Film Threat and what they're talking about, the WGA, has been the explanation, where we learned that DEI has completely taken over like a cancer. It has infested the WGA. They hire only on race, color, gender, sexuality. They have checklists that they pass around, surveys they call them, that ask you for your sexuality, your gender, your ethnicity. And then, despite they say that this is only so that they can find these underrepresented groups or whatever. No, it's really a discrimination checklist, so that if you write a story about a black person who's gay and you yourself are not a gay black person, well, you're not allowed to write that story. So ever since that first WGA writer that had been a writer of several decades came out with that, they have had a flood of emails. We covered some of them. Today, we're going to cover some of the other ones. So first up, this is one of the letters, again, from a WGA writer sent to Film Threat. DEI is being weaponized. Again, that stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And of course, we just learned they're now calling it JEDI. Justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. JEDI training. Yeah, I know. Here's the letter. You are so right about the fear running this town. But this is the first time when I've been afraid to say anything about how DEI is being weaponized. I've been a liberal progressive my entire life. And a few of the Emmy-nominated shows I've worked on actively advanced the causes being fought for. But now it's like I'm no longer wanted at the table solely because of my age, gender, and skin color. Shutting anyone out for any of those reasons doesn't feel like DEI, but more like its opposite. Oh, it's racism. It's racism pure and simple. My 93-year-old father-in-law asked me if a biracial marriage was as popular in real life as it is in TV commercials and series. Yeah. My own father was like, have you ever noticed how all the commercials now, there's always one white parent, one black parent, and then a bunch of mixed race children, and it's never explained? Yeah, good. You guys are noticing it. I love it when I see diversity done right, not the forced or self-conscious way we're getting it on shows like Bridgerton that erase actual history and pretend black people were always members of royalist society. Yeah, or even in shows that depict current day small town culture, small town America, as being racially mixed as Chicago or Cleveland. I read somewhere that TV depicts gay characters at a rate of 5 times higher than population statistics. Yep. I worked in rooms with a very few minorities or women in them for at least half of my career, and that was fucked up. But now it's starting to feel like the new paradigm isn't about equality or equity. It's about complete reversal of the power dynamic, and it is. That is what it is. It is not about equality. It is not about adding more voices. It is about flipping the script and them being in charge. Maybe that's a black matriarchy. I don't know. But until a few years ago, writers' room were getting more diverse every year I've been working in them. Only now they're getting less diverse. And I think storytelling is suffering because of it. I would much rather have diversity of thought than diversity of skin color. Because they may all look different, but they all fucking think the same, and they all write the same shitty stories. Norman Lear used to have Republican conservatives writing in his rooms. Nowadays, that would be impossible. Oh, come on, Chris. I had a pretty great career with, to be fair, Chris did just say, Chris Gore, who runs Film Threat, he said he was firing his entire ad company because of these pop-ups. So respect, it'll get better. I had a pretty great career with a few jobs on shows I'd rather not remember. That was right up until this DEI stuff took over. And then I stopped getting asked to join rooms run by white showrunners. They stopped being able to hire more than 1 or 2 other writers who looked like them. My last gig was for a minority showrunner and a stellar writer, someone who could hire me. In recent years, I know I've lost gigs on shows that I would have been great for, shows where the showrunner wanted me, but where the corporate bosses nixed my hiring. The excuse is always, we needed a different balance in the room. Look, I get it. I'm all for diversity in this business, but now white guys are lucky to account for even 20% of a room. If that, I know that most showrunners are still white dudes. I know that. But for journeyman writers like myself, who have proven themselves on show after show with experience running rooms, being on set, in casting and in editing, with experience working on some of the best shows in TV, it's gotten very out of hand. We're not allowed to say anything to anyone about any of this because of our gender and skin color. We no longer check the right boxes. It's like we were supposed to just shut up and go away. Yeah, that's what they want. But I have a family to feed, and I'm really good at my job. Here's the thing. I know how to write a great show. I know that writing staffs who have to write an entire season of episodes in 10 or 20 weeks have to commit to all their earliest ideas, and then they're out of a job. The showrunner, maybe one other writer, have to push everything through production without the brain power of an entire room full of veteran writers. And yes, and that is what we are hearing, that that the WGA subsidizes, they pay for these noobs, essentially, these new writers who have no voice. They don't know what the fuck they want to talk about, and they're just told to push what they got hired for. Oh, you were gay and trans? Well, then write stories about being gay and trans, even if the story you're writing doesn't call for that, which leads to the showrunner and their number two ending up doing all the shit. And then they can't say, hey, look at these writers. What the hell? They're not turning in their products on time, blah, 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 because they're a protected class. Here we go. Lastly, he says, but this gig has been devalued and demonetized, and streamers don't care if they have to hire a new young staff every season. It's cheaper that way. No series gets to build continuity in its staff from season to season. Right. And we see Netflix, as soon as something gets good, they fucking cancel it. Now, granted, that's for contracts because they don't want to have to pay more, but still, you got to have a continuity of a writer's room. Let's do one more. Trouble in other entertainment industry guilds. I'm a senior illustrator in the Art Directors Guild. I just watched your video on the WGA DEI checkboxes. The ADJ, stop doing abbreviations. The ADG was sending these surveys out at an extremely aggressive level last year. I can send you screenshots if you want. There was also something they call, here it is, something they called JEDI training, Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion training. IATSE ran a similar census that they said was voluntary, but was aggressive in members insisting they participate. I received an email from Anne Marie Brady, PhD research director, Worker Rights and Equity. The email stated, your participation in the census is voluntary, and please be assured that all the information you provide will be kept strictly confidential and will never be used in any way to reveal your identity. But it will be used to hold against you and keep you from working. Oh, sorry, she didn't say that. But they're all questions about gender, race, sexuality, and preference. And here it is. God damn you, Chris. Here, look, JEDI training. Justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. This training is an exploration of diversity, equity, and inclusion from both the individual and the collective perspective. Well, we know the collective is all they care about. Yeah. And these are just the surveys, the race, gender, sexuality surveys. Yeah. How do you identify for your writing job? This is so illegal. That's why they keep saying it's voluntary. Uh-huh. Voluntary race. Yeah, put that first, huh? Trouble. I think this is the last one. A couple months back, I took the stage on a film union gathering and criticized the union on not mentioning the terrible far left decisions made, mainly about tax policies in this case. I seem to have surprised them as they panicked a bit, and I don't think they were expecting someone with my skin color. Oh, they don't like black people that are conservatives or that don't follow, or anytime there's like, oh, here's this representation, and a black person goes, yeah, but that's kind of lame. You just took a white character and you race swapped him. That's sort of disingenuous. Where's the extra? Oh, they don't like that. That's when the real racism comes out. They start calling them Uncle Toms. It's without fail. It's very funny. I seem to have surprised them a bit as they panicked, and I don't think they were expecting someone with my skin color to out them like that. One young blue-haired woman on the board's only response to me was, what a conservative stance I have. I did, however, you can almost see her and the haircut she has, huh? I did, however, get some feedback from them. Most of it total BS. They did say they respected my views and changes needed to be made. Now I got to hear from a colleague that they added my critique to the agenda of the yearly union meeting coming up this week, but they have completely either misunderstood or more likely tried to find a loophole in their call to action for change. Attached to the screen grabs. Okay, so it's all their identification, their JEDI training. Chris. I also received surveys from individual studios after finishing a job. They'd send it along with my time card, looking to cash in on these tax incentives to prove how diverse they were. God, do you check these boxes so we pay less in taxes because you're black? It's great. The ADG is made up of art directors, graphic artists, illustrators, matte artists, model makers, production designers, scenic artists, set designers, and title artists. That includes storyboard artists and conceptual artists. It's connected to IATSE and it's nationwide. This corporate and political approach is an art. Film used to be an art form, at least by shining a light on this ignorant approach to producing film, comic books, and other mediums. Maybe the least we can do is make them feel ashamed by calling out this insincerity that divides us and diminishes the arts. Yeah, it's an industry-wide, it's culturally, yeah. I saw it starting in 2014 when I started storyboarding. And in 2013, coincidentally, is when Eric Weinstein and Jordan Peterson and everyone else was screaming that our higher education, our colleges, our universities have been completely taken over by this ideology. And everyone dismissed it, saying, they'll go into the real world and they'll find out real quick. And the real world bent the fuck over, spread cheeks, and let them dominate. And for the past decade, DEI and these blue-haired weirdos have been in charge. And only now listen to these letters. Are these terrified people actually coming out? Okay, so we'll save the rest of the letters for another day because there's going to be no shortage of them. People are realizing it. They're losing their jobs, and not the people losing their jobs because they suck. People that have been producing quality for years now are not getting jobs simply because they are white and or male. And if you're both of those, God help you. Let me know what you think of this in the comments. Please check out Film Threat. Chris Gore and Alan Ng are doing the Lord's work right now. Like, share, subscribe. If you've done that, thank you. If you're going to do that, thank you. And, well,
bye.